heavy on oceans and reefs. Yes, and actually, let's see. We took a trip to Yellowstone last summer, and we drove through Montana, so that was really fun. But definitely not a very ocean-heavy state. So definitely, maybe being in a landlocked state, being able to connect with the museum by the ocean or an aquarium is a great experience. So the virtual field trip side. Are there any other ideas as to what you could do with video conferencing? Because virtual field trips is one thing. You could also connect with other classrooms, which is a great way to share ideas, where students might be able to even have contests with video conferencing, comparing writing. As a writer, that's one of my favorite ideas. So there are really lots of different things that you can do using video conferencing. So now I want to show you some of my presentations through video conferencing and what I do. Thanks to Jan's and Mia's, I've been able to deliver over 300, this presentation is a little less than 400 video conferencing presentations to both students and teachers over 2 years. Now, one of my favorite things is that video conferencing builds student interest. So to teach, I first think about what is interesting to me as a learner. What makes learning special for me? So I like to teach using things that naturally excite kids like myself, such as fun visuals and technology. And you can incorporate video conferencing into your teaching in order to make the connection between excitement and learning. Now, not all of the connections you have to do over video conferencing have to be 1 hour or 50 minutes, 40 minutes. They can be even shorter, 15, 10, just to show a point, or if there's a part in your lesson that you think needs some enrichment. So it's really flexible what you can do over video conferencing. Now, a lot of teachers have been saying that the excitement of using new technology and interacting with other students really increases motivation. So that's one of the cool things I think about video conferencing, because when you're interacting just with the same students, the same teacher that you know every day, that you've been interacting with for many months, then it can get, well, it's just the routine. But when you are able to connect with video conferencing to students you've never seen before, to people you've never seen before, there's that certain, oh wow, it's new element. So my own programs offer both access to a content provider and distance classes, so students meet a published author and learn about a concept, usually something like personal narrative or how to write a good creative story. And it's important to interact through video conferencing, because that is one of the major points, is that it's two-way, it's interactive. Students can speak, teachers can speak, presenters can speak, and it's really a lot of back and forth, and that's one of the greatest things I think that makes video conferencing fun, is the interactivity. Step number 1. This is one of my favorite things to do in my video conferencing presentations, as a collaborative writing activity, because I think they help reduce fear of writing in students. So this is a fun thing to investigate. If you're over video conferencing, I love doing this. To show you an example, let's step into a collaborative writing activity that I practice with students. Imagine that you are 3rd grade students describing your dream treehouse. If you just slouch back and start picking your noses a little more, you'll have it right down. No, just kidding. 3rd graders are usually very hygienic. So we're going to, I'm going to open up a Word document and take your suggestions for a writing activity to show you my typical program. So let's start with color. What color is this treehouse? Just throw out a color.
Purple.
Purple. Okay, great. And how big is it? Is it big? Is it tiny? What size? Huge. The huge purple treehouse stands alone in the middle of a housing development, of a forest, of a desert. Where is this treehouse?
Wheat field.
In the middle of a wheat field. Lovely. In the middle of a wheat field. And let's see, where should this wheat field be?
A golden wheat.
Of a golden wheat field. Great, so add an adjective there to describe. Of a golden wheat field in what place or what setting is this wheat field in?
Eastern Montana.
In eastern Montana. Okay, sounds beautiful. The huge purple treehouse stands alone in the middle of a golden wheat field in eastern Montana. Now, what makes this, besides the fact that it's huge and purple, what makes this treehouse special?
It's magic.
Okay, it's a magic treehouse. Which way is it magic?
It's larger inside than it looks outside.
Oh, that is the smart one. Okay, so although it may look like a fairly normal treehouse, it's actually magic. So climbing inside, you realize that it's larger on the inside than it is on the outside. Much larger. It's so large that it has 20 rooms and 3 refrigerators, 2 stories, several spiral staircases, and windows that keep moving around. So there's another little magic element. So this is where I might say, students, in writing, you really have ownership over what you write about. You can have magic, you can have monsters, you can really have whatever you want. Your parents can tell you to take out your garbage in real life, but in your stories you can tell your parents to take out the garbage. That's one of my favorite things about writing, is the power it gives you. So I might read this out, students. The huge purple treehouse stands alone in the middle of a golden wheat field in eastern Montana. Although it may look like a fairly normal treehouse, it's actually magic. Climbing inside, you realize that it's larger on the inside than it is on the outside. Much larger. It's so large it has 20 rooms and 3 refrigerators, 2 stories, several spiral staircases, and windows to keep moving around. How? How did this treehouse come about, you wonder? Let me put that in italics so that it's a thought. If I can just find where my mouse is. Ah, sorry about that. And I might put "you wonder" at the beginning and say to students, in the writing process, you're continually revising, sometimes even while you're writing. All right, so that is an example of the typical collaborative writing activity I would do with 3rd graders, 4th graders, depends on the grade. And this I would usually use for descriptive writing. So I would say at the beginning, we might have a okay paragraph like, my treehouse is cool, it's in eastern Montana. But why say that when we could get so much more descriptive and so much more creative? Now, another presentation, actually this is one of the most frequent ones that I do. It's called Acing Your State Writing Assessment and Beyond, Personal Narrative 1. So personal narrative, in personal narrative, I define this key term, narrative, and I might even put a shape over the definition and ask students, what is a narrative? And if somebody, if they're not able to think of an answer, I drive this way and I say, well, a narrative is a story. So I start by defining the key term, give examples. The Lord of the Rings is a narrative, so is your favorite cartoon. And I ask kids, what are some examples of narratives that you know of? And so some will come up with different stories that they've read over the week. And if they're stumped, I say, well, remember, a narrative is a story. Have you read any stories this week? And that usually gets some response. And now, in personal narrative, I say, well, a narrative is a story. A personal narrative is a story from our own life. In the stories that you read, you often like them because they're suspenseful. That means that you don't know how things are going to turn out. So can you remember a time in your own life when you were not sure how things were going to turn out? I might use another favorite tool of mine called Revealer. And so I ask them this, and if they're stumped, then I roll down for some examples. A move, a game, a test, a trip to an unfamiliar place would all be some examples of times when you might not be entirely sure how things would turn out. Next, I would do interactive writing to be what kind of obstacle should I write about. So they might say something like, you're having trouble on a bike because a dog ran in front of you. That would be an obstacle. So after defining an obstacle, I'm going to ask this question, write up a description of an obstacle to show them how to do that. So throughout the presentation,